Good afternoon, folks. It's Chief Meteorologist Nick Lolia here, taking a look at the tropical update forecast for the tropics for August 21st of 2019. Brought to you by good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. As always, a big thanks to them for helping us out with these. This time of the year, we are starting to go up the hill toward the peak of hurricane season on September 10th. We're all the way back about right there. Give or take. So there's a pretty sharp increase as you head through the latter stages of August. And generally, we're looking all the way out into the Atlantic this time of the year. And as we head into September, then we start looking all the way out toward the coast of Africa. And there is actually an African wave out there that's holding together all right. So it is kind of showing signs that it's that time of the year. Water temperatures hanging out in the 80s across parts of the Gulf of Mexico to right around 90 degrees. The mid 80s as you head out into the open Atlantic. Low 80s still as you head off to the east of the Greater and Lesser Antilles. To start things off with the good old Chantal out here. We had Tropical Storm Chantal form yesterday. It looked a little better yesterday night, and there it is, and it continues to get just kind of ripped apart. It doesn't look great today, but it's still out there floating around. That's kind of teasing the National Hurricane Center last night at 10. I probably teased them a little too hard, but yes, it is actually a tropical storm out there. It's just a little ragged. Wind at 40 miles an hour, gusting to 50. This thing's booking it off to the east at 20. This one's going to kind of wrap around, do a little loop-de-loop, and then continue on its way off to the east and away from us. Down into the Gulf of Mexico, we still have that little boundary nearby, though it is starting to kind of fall apart, and pieces of it are starting to lift off to the northeast. So slowly we're getting rid of the everyday chance for rain. However, that is going to be replaced with what's getting into the Bay of Campeche right now. Down off to the south, you can see some showers and thunderstorms associated with wave number 2 down here that we've been watching for the last couple of days. Wave 1 is actually back over here. The National Hurricane Center is saying, well, maybe a 20% chance of development on this bad boy as we head through the next 2 to 5 days. Basically off the east coast of Florida and the Carolinas and Georgia, so it's not going to get into the Gulf of Mexico. You may have watched the update yesterday and the news last night, and I said, well, it's not really moving, so it's tough to figure out. Is it going to go into the Gulf, kind of curlicue back off to the northeast? We just don't know quite yet. We need more information, and well, we have a little more convection in here in the National Hurricane Center, a little more confident today about suggesting where this thing is probably going to go. The modeling is coming into better agreement as well. We'll touch on that here in a second. As you look out into the open Atlantic, really not much as you head toward the Greater and Lesser Antilles, but a decent wave coming off the coast of Africa right now. Pretty robust in terms of convection. We'll have to see if this holds. Most of the modeling says that this one may fall apart, but the one back in behind it may hold on and do something. As we head through the next couple of days, 700 millibar moisture, 850 vorticity map showing a little vorticity going up the east coast of Mexico and Texas. This is wave number 2 that we've been watching for, the last 7 to 10 days. And then wave number 1 out here may be getting a little better organized as it slides up the east coast of Florida. We get this stuff kind of wrapping around as we head through the weekend. I think by Sunday we'll start to slow things down across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, while wave number 1 gets a little stretched out and then maybe tries to collect itself by the time we get toward next Monday as it gets pulled off to the northeast and away from the Gulf of Mexico and away from the United States. Back in behind that, here's a little interesting curlicue as well. By the time we get toward Monday, maybe a little area of low pressure trying to develop toward the surface over land, not over the Gulf of Mexico, but interesting to note that that's there. But again, back in behind it, just a slew of dry air. This is the wave that's coming off the coast of Africa right now. That's halfway between the Greater and Lesser Antilles and the coast of Africa. It gets kind of eaten up by a lot of the dry air in there. However, it does enough of a job, as well as the dry air is kind of slowing down coming off of the coast of Africa, that maybe the wave back in behind it may do something as we head through Thursday of next week and toward the end of August. That one bears watching for us. However, I will say it does take kind of a more northerly trek. Now, generally speaking for us, if you get the waves off the coast of Africa and they get a little further off to the north of Puerto Rico, the Greater Lesser Antilles, when they're already out over the open Atlantic, if there's a strong enough ridge of high pressure, the big Bermuda High that's out here, it tends to kind of tug at these things and pull them a little further off to the north and kind of away from the Gulf of Mexico. Now again, that's not an every single time that happens, but a general rule of thumb. Usually you have to get something else that happens in order for these that are this far to the north to continue to move off to the east and get into the Gulf of Mexico. A good example of that, Andrew did that. More recently, Gordon, Tropical Storm Gordon, you guys may remember from last year, did that. So again, it can happen, but generally speaking, if you get two that I can think of off the top of my head in the last 20-something years, it doesn't happen very often. So again, there's a look at your tropical update brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters for August 21st of 2019. The good news is, while we do have a little bit of activity out there with wave number 1 and wave number 2 in Chantal, the good news is nothing is headed our direction right now.